Hi guys, welcome back to Term 2 Society and Culture. I apologise, I was away last week on an excursion, so I didn't get in contact with you. But back into our work now, and it's great to see a few of you are submitting work regularly as usual and getting through the course. So what I wanted to talk to you about is where you should be up to at this stage and the upcoming assessment task, Assessment 2 for Prelim Society and Culture, that's due in week 9 of this term. Alright, so if you see, I've got the schedule up here for you, and you will have a copy of this and can access it on Canvas if you've lost it. And it would be really helpful if you keep this out where you can see it and follow it so that you know what's due on what day. So we are currently here in week 2, and you should be working on title page 8, Personal and Social Identity, Adolescence and Social Self. Alright, and then you can see over here in week 9, you have assessment task 2 due, and this assessment task is a task based on the topic personal and social identity, and you'll have to conduct a cross-generational study and talk about some social theorists that relate to generational studies and transitioning through life stages. So that will be explained in a moment. Alright, if you found yourself falling behind and you're still stuck back in the focus study of Amish and maybe even quantitative and qualitative research, I suggest you email me and we can talk about adjustments. So possibility of maybe just reading that content or just talking about it over the phone with me a little bit. But most of you have done the assessment task on the Amish, so you should be fairly au fait and familiar with that cross-cultural study by this stage, and I would expect that you should be able to be moving forward into the topic personal and social identity by now. Okay, so that's the schedule. By the end of this term, in week 9, when that assessment task is due, you should have completed all the social and cultural world and all the personal and social identity, and moving towards intercultural communication, which is the last prelim unit of work. And also considering this term that you will have an exam for the end of the prelim course, you might want to start going back and doing some revision of the social concepts and research methodologies and your cross-cultural study of the Amish. So in your timing this term, you really need to be start thinking about revision as well for that prelim exam if you want to do the best that you can do. Okay, which you all do clearly. So assessment task 2, this has been mailed out to you. You should have it by now. If not, it'll be in the mail very soon. And you can also access this task on the Canvas page for Prelim Society and Culture. So as I said before, due in week 9, which is Friday the 29th, and that is allowed to be submitted electronically, or you can mail it back to DE, as long as if you mail it back that it's in the mailroom by that Friday. If you have any concerns with assessment tasks as far as medical concerns, you can apply for extensions, but you need to contact me in advance for that, not just on the day. And it needs to be a good reason to be an extension, not just I haven't had time to do it yet. So okay, it's weighted at 30%, which is quite heavily weighted, so it's very important that you do this task. And you need to conduct a cross-generational study, either using a research methodology of questionnaire or focus group, about the impact of media, including technologies, on the process of socialization. So that's quite a high order task there. There's a few key concepts and things. So socialization in society and culture is where you learn how to become an accepted member of society. And within that context, you have aspects of socialization. So the things that mainly influence how you learn and how you grow. So clearly you'll be learning about how family have an influence on your socialization, media, your school life and experience, and your peers, and also the location where you grow up has an impact on your socialization. So the experience of a youth growing up in the city will be very different to that, say, of a student growing up in the country. So those things all impact on how you learn to become an accepted member of our society. Further in that question, so that's just socialization. But further in this question, you also have to use either questionnaire or focus group. And at this stage, I'm hoping you would know that a questionnaire can be a quantitative or a qualitative research methodology. And with that, if you wanted to just find out numerical data that can be graphed, you would choose possibly a questionnaire for cross-generational study, which is you might compare what maybe a youth group in the ages of 12 to 15 use technology for and how they use it to communicate, and you'd send out a questionnaire to maybe 30 or so youth, which I can assist you with if you need to. And then in that case, you would also need to send a questionnaire out to an older generation, you might say 35 to 40 years, and your questions would be aimed at comparing how they use that technology when they were growing up and how the current youth use that technology. So you can draw comparisons. So for example, my generation, when I wanted to talk to my friends, I used to ring up and have to ask their parents on the home phone line to chat to my friends when I was growing up. Or if I had friends overseas or even living a long distance away from me, I used to send them postcards and letters in the mail. So very different forms of communication and way of socializing with my friends at that age. Whereas you guys would be very familiar with phone technologies and apps and things like Instagram and Facebook and all of that. So that's what you're trying to explore a little bit by completing the cross-generational study with a questionnaire or focus group. So just in case you have forgotten, a focus group is a small group of people, 6 to 8, who get together and you have a conversation about a topic. So that's a really easy one to do in this assessment task, because you can have several similar questions and then you just basically sit down and have a conversation with maybe a grandparent, a parent, an older sibling, yourself and somebody younger, and you talk about how technology has changed your socialization and your experiences, especially the change in technology and media. And so with that, you'd probably only have to develop maybe 5 to 10 questions to ask in your focus group. But the time-consuming part of a focus group is after the fact, you need to type up a transcript. So you would probably want to record the focus group on your phone with using a microphone or something like that, so you can type that up after the fact. Okay, a second part of this question here is that you need to apply the Strauss and Howe theory of generations to explain the generational differences between those two groups that you've analysed. Okay, and so you really need to become familiar with that social theorist for this assessment task. So in your response, you need to compare your own experience of socialization with that of another older generation, apply depth study concepts of globalization, life stages, life course and socialization in your answers, and integrate findings from primary and secondary research. So the thing about this task is it is a challenging task. It's meant to be challenging for you, but break it down into parts and you can work through it. And if at any point you don't understand what you need to be doing, please contact me and find out if there's anything I can do to help. I do actually have student assessment tasks who've done this task in the past, so I could possibly send you a sample, or I could come and sit down with you and we could work through it. So don't be shy when you're needing assistance, guys. All right, so just one more thing before I go this morning. In the course, if you want to find out a little bit about the social theory of Strauss and Howe, you can go to title page 12. It's called Life Stages, and it's in Exploring Generational Theories. And the first one that you can see is there is that one, but the second one down on the page, if you scroll down, is the generational theory of Howe and Strauss. So you can learn a little bit about it from here. Okay, and so you could read all about it there. And obviously you should do a little bit extra research online, so Googling those social theorists to find out a little bit more information than what I've provided for you there. But they talk about phases in this theory, okay? 4 different phases. So you need to go on and do some research on that. So ideally, there's like 2 different parts to this task. You've got to do a primary research methodology, and you've got to do some content analysis research with the generational theory. So that's where we're at this term. 66187629 is my phone number, just in case any of you have forgotten. And I really would like to talk to you regularly and hear from you, and I'm happy and ready here to help you. So, all right, let's have a great term. Bye.